Hi, I'm Cesar Santos. I'm continuing with this painting. Today I'm doing the first layer of oil color. It's like a ground, like an underpainting. I'm also adding color to it. Right on the linen, I did a drawing, and now I'm starting the underpainting. But I want to do it like a foundation too. I want to put a nice foundation of oil underneath. So I'm almost like preparing the canvas as well as mapping my values. These colors are not gonna be visible directly at the end. All this is a process. This painting is probably gonna have 3 or 4 layers of different colors, so they will probably change. I wanted to do something warm underneath because I know my background is gonna be cool. I'm thinking of doing it like a dark purplish blue or something, so that it brings out the warmthness of her flesh. Yellow and orange tones would look really nice with that bluish background. At this point, I'm not thinking of anatomy and all the stuff that I had in mind when I was drawing it. Now I'm trying to simplify the whole space and create a nice moody environment for her. For me, it's not about filling this fast. With this, I wanted to go over the background with a smaller brush so that I feel the air, the space around her, and I don't ignore it as if it was a stain because I've said it, use the biggest brush for a certain area, and I have bigger brushes than this and it will be faster. But I don't want to do that in this case. Sometimes you can do the edges and then do the broader spaces. That I'm doing opposite too, because normally you have more patience at the beginning because we are fresh, we are not tired, so we can get all the attention and then fill out the rest. In this case, I did the opposite. I wanted to get the right color around, and once I liked it, then I can come in specific and pay attention to this. But the idea is to be involved with the work. While Valentina goes and edits the drawing video, I advance on this one. By the time you get it, it's already advanced. So the foundation colors are already set. I did this in a day. It might look elaborate, but it's not. It's actually 3 colors: the background, the flesh in light, and the flesh in shadow. And that's all that there is right now. To simplify is always good, because once you're doing something so large, or even small actually, it's better to start organized and simple, and then you can get more complex as time passes later on with the other layers. Right now, I wanted to get rid of that kind of factory feeling of the oil ground that I had. Is good linen, but still it was made by, you know, the factory or whoever did it. I did the drawing directly on that, but I still needed a foundation. I wanted to get rid of that, cover the whole canvas with thick paint. All this will influence the final result. If I put a thick brush stroke here, it will stay there, even if I cover it with other colors. And if I do something more transparent, these colors will influence. My goal is to change all these colors as they become more natural, more organic, more real. My intention with this is to have the values clean, to not have variation. I had all this information here because I was trying to construct the outside. So in order to know where this lines are, it's good to know where things are meeting up and what's going on inside the mask. Once I knew that, I cover it. So that's why in the drawing stage doesn't have to be that detailed. It's just information. But I cover that, I have a nice thick paint foundation. Seeing that contrast now with the light and the dark, is easier for me to judge the figure, the proportions. So I had to make some changes here. I got some of the pure raw umber and correct the drawing in some areas. I did some changes in the face too. I want to create the illusion of looking upward at her, and I wanted to make sure that the divisions between the face is in perspective, going back a little bit. All this dialogue is a personal dialogue. Every piece will demand different. The good thing about creating it like this is that the edges will come out more natural because it's a boundary against the other instead of having an outline. When I was drawing, I did the outline, but there is a moment to forget that outline and start creating masses next to other masses. And that's what I'm doing here. And as soon as that's very nice and solid and dry, I will add more corrections, more drawing, more life into this figure. This happens to be here, that's why I'm using 1000, but I think it's refined enough to not mess up the paint application. I want the brush strokes to stay. This is not meant to make it really smooth or anything like that. I don't want to get rid of the marks that I made with the brush. This is mainly because if it's a big painting, there are more chances that it will catch a glare or some little bump. So I want to make sure that I go over the whole surface so that it's nice. And also it opens up a little bit of the pores. I think it scratches it a little bit enough to be able to grab the new application that I'm about to start. But I'll do this only when it's really dry and when it's the underpainting. All this is gonna be covered soon. Right now I'm just going freely, experimenting with color combination and also composition. I'm doing big shapes, setting up my composition. This is the beginning of my painting. Before this, I just regarded this as a structure, like a base, and now I'm actually interacting with the painting, more in terms of colors, shapes. Right now, I'm wondering what I'm gonna do in the background, so I mixed those different types of shades. They're really dark. I want to keep the background really dark. I want to create a night scene. I'll probably think of a constellation or something to put in the back. And I put this kind of line to do a contrapposto also with her. Since the painting has this huge gesture going that way, I wanted to mimic that and enhance it with the mountain and repeating it. This is the fun part when you become a kid again and you want to create your own world. This is a very low chroma blue, but in context with the rest of the warm colors, it looks even bluer here. That's why you have to experiment and push and pull, because in the museums you might see a painting, an effect that you really like, but you might misinterpret by thinking that it's bright blue, and then when you come to your house you mix a brighter blue than necessary. Everything has to exist at the moment in the painting, not outside. The background goes together with the figure. You cannot separate it, just as you cannot separate the background from things in life too. When you're talking to someone, they are part of their environment, and the space, the background is part of them. You cannot take away the fullness of the surroundings. The same way, a color here is a reflection of something else here. Nothing stops being. Everything turns into something else. As soon as she finishes here, she becomes space. And that space is interacting with the form in a very nice way because it's caressing it, it's going all around her. Space is also full, it's not empty. So all that fullness is what echoes the three-dimensional form. Everything is a constant movement. It's like evolution. You have a base, you have a trait, you have a DNA. that marks a certain gene, and then you have this progression. In painting, I feel that there is this type of progression too. At first, when we have the flat colors, is to set a mood. Then on top of those flat colors can come more change, and then on top of that, more change. And that way, things move with the emptiness, with the simplicity of the beginning, but it gets more complex, but it stays light. And that's the goal in painting. So if I have a background that was one value, and then I added information, I have to let it belong to that space, to that darkness. After I had also a flat general color there, now I have sculpted the figure to create a sense of three dimension, to give her a presence under this light. She becomes believable. And that's what I feel when I'm painting. The difference between the top part here and the bottom part is that now the bottom part, it has the first layer of color with intentions of volume and hues playing together. Here, more colors around the knees, redder, warmer. This is out, so I put some lighter notes here. The light is coming from this angle a little bit. You see that this foot catches a little bit more light from the front than that one from the side. This area here is lighter because it's falling on it like this. I think of this painting as if I'm creating a room, a space to go around her and how she's standing there. I don't think I'm making an image on a flat surface. We do the same thing in writing. We start with maybe a couple of notes, a couple of words, and those will be the basic colors that I put at the beginning to mark important things that will guide me through more complex ideas. So the same way we write the structure of simple words, then from each word we develop a theme, and then from each area we develop a theme. The bottom, the ground, the back, the starry night fits into this, and it's part of her because they were placed at the same time at the beginning in a very simple and organized manner. From the simple themes, then you start connecting the dots. Even if they go into different directions, they still belong to the same story. And that's how I'm building this painting. We are part of the whole universe traveling, and all that bigness becomes part of us, our experience at the moment, because we cannot get away from it. It's not that we have an option. We are from it, in it. All this is ready to be painted, and now little by little I go over everything and really render it. For me, it's what I call finally painting. The rest was a setup, was a play back and forth. I was almost like in a fight trying to figure it out where things should be. And once everything is in control, as much as you can, you're never really in control because art runs us and make us feel weird. We cannot even express that. Now I can go ahead and have fun with a base that I can count on, and wetting to wet with more oil than before, and thin paint, refining, going over everything. So you see the difference between this area and this hair. Well, the rest is gonna go like that and build up. And this is the time to focus in one area, really enjoy it and play with it and polish it. It's the time to go more develop and then finish it.